Please stand for pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item is the review and approval of today's agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Joan. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
And we have one item on our consent items, and that is to approve our board meetings of July 16th.
So moved.
By Mark, is there a second?
Yes, so moved.
Thank you. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. County Board Member Issue Forum. Joan.
Do you want to do Chuck first or?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to go through a forum, but
I appreciate
we'll make
it.
this even quicker.
Well, I don't want to delay you from your forum, but
Not a problem.
long day today. The first item that I have is the resolution. Where is it here?
On those appointments, right?
Yes, I have to find it here. It wasn't up ready. Where is it? Okay, this resolution formally selects your 4 county representatives to the, I'm calling it the administrative board for the West Central Regional Water District. This is kind of a phase 2 of 3-phase development of that managing board. As issues start becoming more administrative rather than the initial, how do we form? Now it's getting very close to being formed. Bills are being incurred with the attorneys and the engineers. And the thought of the group, along with the attorney, is to position the membership for the formal recognition of the district when the court so sees fit. So what you're seeing is a resolution that does that. That gives the working committee some authority to move ahead with the full understanding of the 3 counties. The financial commitment from Polk County remains the $135,000 that you approved earlier, along with the amounts that the other 2 counties have committed to. The appointments, as you know, Commissioners Strandell and Reese, Brad Evenson from Climax, Michael Bird, the mayor of Neelsville. I think we misspelled Neelsville there, but we can fix that. And as far as I know, the other 2 counties are also adopting this week. And Monday is the next meeting, and I know I'll be there. I plan to be there along with Warren, maybe Commissioner Reese if you're making it.
I won't be there that day. Warren knows that.
Okay. And we'll continue to report to this board as things progress. But sitting here right now, I'd recommend that the board adopt Resolution 2024-54.
I'll move.
Thank you, Paul. Is there a second?
Second.
And then 135 is not to exceed.
Right.
So,
and it's a prorated amount of $300,000 based on our population relative to the other 2 counties.
any other questions, comments?
Does everything we do at that meeting now become official business?
I think that's a point of discussion that there was some emails going back and forth with the attorney about public notice of the meeting. And the question was put to us, do we notice it? I put it back to him. I said, well, you're the attorney. Why don't you give us a notice and we'll post it. And I think that'll probably be discussed on Monday. I don't think it's a huge point. There's no reason to have the meetings closed. They never really have been, but you know, we at some point again we fall under public records and open meeting laws.
I think Steven said it was gonna be posted.
Yeah, I think that's the intent. I just haven't gotten anything back yet.
We would have any funds that have been contributed will now become under control of this board.
Well, the incurring of the expenses we have committed to our share of that, so they will continue
Yeah.
to facilitate that billing process. And that's kind of this in-between land that we're in right now. This board could decide we're not going to pay any of those bills. I don't think that's what you're going to do, but now that they're making decisions, they need to start recording them and being responsible for them.
So who's actually the fiscal agent?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's a combination of the attorney's administrative support in his office in Flaherty and Hood, and the engineer, same in his office. And I think that will end up being a discussion point, is that who do they select
Right.
to be kind of their administrative lead? Some of the discussion was that it might be one of
The counties.
one of the committee members, which
Okay.
I don't think will last very long. that usually sounds better than it is for that individual, but that'll be part of the transition, and I do think that that board or that committee now, these are the kind of decisions that they have to start making. So even the decision on posting the meeting, I thought it was a little peculiar that the idea was that each county would post it rather than having them send out what to post. And it's a fine difference, but it's really the difference between are they doing it or are we still doing it as the three counties? We're not going to be far away from this, but some of that day-to-day stuff now is starting to get pushed to them, and we're relying on our representatives.
I think it would be important once the district is established and meetings are of the official capacity that
Mhm.
the county not be involved in the posting.
Right.
If there was a situation of wrongdoing, it could
Yeah.
impede onto the county, and I see that being a problem.
Well, it would have to be pretty egregious for it to be a serious problem. But along that vein, as I'm going to monitor this and try to determine when I stop attending, I'm just a worker guy, and I don't attend the Marshall Polk watershed meeting. So at some point, when this thing is on its own legs, then it's up to that board of representatives and their administrative people to manage.
My gut is that the lawyer and WE2 is in charge of this yet.
It almost has to be by default. I do think because we meet in Halsted, that the I don't know what his title is, superintendent or administrator of the Halsted Utilities is kind of right there. And that helps. It's centrally located. He sits in on the meetings, but Halsted itself is not represented directly on the board.
Anything else? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Item 2.
My next item is Resolution 2455, and this is the board authorizing the issuance of the revenue bonds for solid waste. This formally kicks off the process. There's still some administrative work to do. I had a call yesterday with uh, the representative Baker Tilly because we've put forward 3 different terms for the borrowing: 10-year, 15-year, and 20-year. We've been presuming that 20-year will be the likely choice here. But we did look at some model bond runs that they have, and there is what they call a wraparound. We have some existing bonds to pay. So what that means is they can take our annual bond payments and add this to it, but backload the new bond for when, or try to even out the annual bond payments between the two bonds. So that the earlier bonds were for the expansion back in 2017. Those go off. I can't remember what it was, 2036 or something like that. So we've also hired a fiscal analyst. I've talked to you a little bit about this before. Somebody to make sure that we have an outside expert looking at our cash flow, our projected expenses, capital replacement, that kind of thing. The gentleman I've known him for years. He worked at Baker Tilly, but he's in on some of the discussion and will provide us some analysis here, probably maybe even by this time next week. So it's actually going along pretty well. There'll be some choices for us to make. I think we'll end up probably going through that wraparound structure with the board, so you kind of have an idea. But that'll also give the other member counties who we're collecting the tip fees from, we'll be able to maintain our tip fee structure out into the foreseeable future. We don't really like to create surprises when we don't have to.
The final payment for the 2017 solid waste is February 1st, 2037.
Okay. I did this happens too. I had to add this to the packet, but it's basically goes along with this motion. Didn't need to add it specifically as to the agenda, but it's your letter of engagement with Baker Tilly. We're Polk County uses 2 different financial advisors when we issue debt, and we've been using Baker Tilly, formerly Springstead, for all the solid waste stuff going back to the first expansion that we had in Boston, and we use PFM for ditch work and the small capital bonds that we've had. But to clarify who's representing us, who we're working for, they sent an engagement letter. It's just something for Gary to read, and their fees get washed into the borrowing. So that I added to the signature packet, and you probably didn't get a chance to read this, but I'm sure if you have nothing else to do tonight, you'll enjoy it. So this resolution moves things ahead. It also forms a pricing committee, which I explained at the last meeting. We take the 2 members of the finance committee, myself, Ron as the finance director, and John, and we'll just do it online with Baker Tilly on August 27th. When the bids are received and reviewed, they'll digest them for us, present us with where it came out, and that group will be able to give the blessing as to which bond is going to be awarded. and then the full board will formalize approval of that at the September 3rd meeting. If I get that report on the from the finance advisor, I'll share that here with the board too. We've got a couple more meetings so we can make sure you're up to speed on that. These things are relatively routine, but I mean, there's always a lot of decisions to make. I mean, it's just like when you purchase a house and you're trying to decide on your own mortgage options.
Debt service on these bonds are not taxpayer funded.
They are not. They are based on the revenue stream. That's why I refer to it as a revenue bond. But because we're a government entity, we still will, if for some reason everything goes to hell in a handbasket, we're still obligated with our tax base to pay these bonds, but that will not happen. The state of Minnesota, I believe, is also in a position of backing us on these bonds too. So, but that would be pretty unlikely. If it was to happen, we'd probably be in all the newspapers. So I don't think it's a real possibility.
Any questions on the procedure or the schedule? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So
Moved. Joan. Second.
Joan and Mark second.
Did I
Okay.
get that? Where did I get that resolution?
Any other concerns? If not, all those in favor say aye.
I
Those opposed, motion carries.
hit the button on that screen.
These things turn off. This was the only one on yesterday when I came in. Okay, next item. It's that time of year again when you get to do my performance evaluation. I can't believe I've been here now. It'll be 12 years. Hopefully that's a good sign. The process is up to you, but typically what you've done in the past is fill out this form. You give it to the chair at the next meeting, which is August 6th, and then he will go and get it to the HR director to compile, and then on August 20th, which is my actual anniversary date, I guess, we'll do the formal appraisal, do that in closed session, and report out how it ends.
So that's August.
20th is that date, yeah. So two weeks, fill it out, bring it back to Gary. Gary then takes it down to Elisa, and she'll have it ready for you on August 20th.
Well, I would move to use this form we've used in the past.
No, I think it works very well. Supporting comments, add a little bit more if you have any specific issues you'd like to discuss. Other than that, I think those 10 items pretty much encompass the administrative functions.
I've been through a lot of these in my career, but it always is a good opportunity to kind of put things on the table too. So
Very good. We'll just proceed with this. And
okay. My last item is just budget status. The department heads, I think just about everybody has gotten their initial budgets back to Ron, and he'll get them compiled next Thursday and Friday, Gary and Joan will sit in with me as I go through the each individual department budget, make sure I understand what their issues are, look at the numbers, see what Ron can share with me about the overall picture. He'll be in later in the meeting with his report, so they'll give you some idea how 2024 is going. We did send out the letters to all the groups that we give the appropriations to. I have had contact with both the city of Fertile and the fair on the discussion. I haven't followed up with anything formally, but I let them know what I understood to be the board's interest in retaining ARPA money for county projects and expenses in the future. So we're just kind of moving along. We had our initial negotiation session, so we will be having more of those, and I expect we will be feeling some of the pressure on wages and benefits. So we don't really have anything in there specifically other than my initial direction to the department heads to put in a generic increase. So that'll have to play itself out.
Is there a date, deadline when those allocations have to request need to be in?
We generally ask them to be in, mid to late summer. Some send us the request before we even send a letter out, so I have to make sure that we're not sending them a letter. But yeah, it's pretty routine. Some of them want to come in and actually talk to you, even if it's a small amount. I think RSVP wants to come in. The Historical Society has been in. We had talked about them coming into this meeting, but decided that'd be too repetitive. And listening to Jerry Amiot, they're putting together their request. The other ones, they just send us a letter. If I don't get a letter from them, we might make a follow-up, but I think one year we had no follow-up from one group and we didn't budget for them, and they were in the next meeting to ask directly. So we're going to have the West Polk Soil Water Conservation District. They'll come in with their budget. Kind of an update on where they're at. Usually East Polk comes in, but I haven't heard from Rachel yet. The HRA will be coming in. They have their own levy, so it's not a direct participation for the county, but they report. Laurel, I think, has already made their
Correct.
decisions. So yeah, right now it's looking pretty normal for July 23rd.
Okay, concerning the West Polk County Soil and Water Conservation District, when I was out on my walk yesterday morning, I was stopped by, I think the first name is John, but Sorensen, he's apparently on the board.
Mhm.
And he's wondering, he said there's some grant that's apparently for them, but it goes through the county and they haven't gotten it yet. He's wondering what's going on there.
Do you know about that? Yeah, this gets a little. We always pass the money through. I think we also have to
Yep.
match it. I have to look into that. And we're not holding anything up. We're just.
Mhm.
It's probably just.
Okay, well, I don't know,
Clear
he
yet.
was indicating that it was being held up for some reason and he didn't know what it was.
The West,
Yeah.
West Polk,
none of them have ever submitted invoices. I've asked them for invoices,
okay,
and so the MOUs that we have state that we need monthly invoices, and we don't get anything from either of the water soil districts. So
okay,
I received a phone call from Eric McWalter. He's on the board,
okay,
and same
and question,
conversation. Apparently, the allocation from the state of Minnesota happened, I forget,
January-ish.
in January. by state statute, 120 days requirement to get the money to them. And during this computer debacle, he was gonna send me correspondence.
My question is, I guess, do you want me to follow that or follow the MOU that requires the invoices?
So
We just
That's
get it dealt with one way or the other.
right, but I've been requesting the invoices, haven't received them. Now they're going to you guys saying we're not paying them. I'm wondering what you guys want me to do. I'll go at your direction.
Well, actually, you'll go at my direction.
Okay.
The direction is to follow the contract that we have with
Yep.
them, which is they submit invoices because the grant is for up to, which implies they have to show us that they've done the work in order to get the pay. We didn't always do that. When we got into the buffer discussions 4 or 5 years ago, as we were looking at it, we modified that. Nicole will be in and we can discuss it. But I haven't heard from her directly.
I've had correspondence with her and Rachel.
Yeah. Um,
So if there's a MOU out there and they're not providing the invoices, then I
you
respect
have
the process.
That's kind of where it is.
Yeah,
And they come to me, and then I can't process anything.
Yep.
And then now they've been going to you guys, commissioners.
So
I
I think you
appreciate.
wicked.
Well, I appreciate that you guys get calls. I haven't got a call, but I won't say that's unusual. And it takes time, I guess, apparently, for them to adjust. But this is what we agreed to with them.
Right, and from my understanding, it was an issue even when Michelle was working
Yes.
with them as well to get the invoices from them.
It's kind of an annual thing.
Yep.
We have no reason to withhold the money other than ask for it the way you
Well,
agreed to
maybe there
ask
should
for it.
be some more communication telling them that,
Well, there
Yeah.
has been with Nicole and Rachel. It's up to them, I would assume, to
you know,
communicate to their board if it's their board calling you guys.
yeah, I know you've been doing this, but you may have to do it again
Yeah,
if it
Well,
goes through there.
The thing is, we'll do it.
Yeah,
Just do it right.
yeah,
We're not, we have no reason not to,
yeah, okay,
Um,
yeah.
but we just don't ignore what has been agreed to.
It was that a verbal agreement, MOU, or was
Written
it?
and it was
written?
approved by this board.
yeah. And so what they usually try sending me is just, hey, the state says they sent you the money. Send us our share. Yes, I know we have the money, but we need the invoices.
For verification and backup that the money's been allocated properly.
Yeah, and I can ask Ashley, because we've already had communication with Nicole about appearing before the board, so we'll go through it when they are right here in the room. We've done it before. And I don't know why it isn't better understood, but pretty straightforward. Sam understands it, and Sam wasn't even in the position
Yep.
when we started this. So
Well, I agree, follow the MOU.
One last item, probably should post the 5 o'clock Friday gathering at the shanty that Diedrich wants to
is it
have.
Friday now?
Yeah, no, Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah, I already told Ashley to just
Yeah.
post that.
Do we have a time?
Well, I was thinking about 5 o'clock.
All right.
Is everybody going or planning to, or?
I won't be there.
I'll be there.
I don't think I'll be there now, because I
Okay,
think with our
good. I don't know how many are
canceled on
coming.
Thursday, I think I will be babysitting, so.
Well, you may not even have a quorum, which would be.
Well, probably won't. Probably won't do any
No,
business.
you think you'd have a quorum if Don is buying. Just to come and see it happen.
We should sell tickets. Okay, well, that's good.
All right, anything else for me? I really appreciate you accommodating my time. I don't like to do that, but just circumstances, the way they came up.
No, safe travel.
All right, thank you. Let you get on with your day.
Okay,
All right, see you Monday.
yes, all right.
Okay, we'll move to our forum. Do you wanna,
I pretty much did what my forum has been done. I didn't have any meetings that or any significance.
Paul, anything?
Well, I'm just gonna respond to it. Chuck had already sent out a letter, so I'm not gonna respond. I had a letter from the Polk County Fair, but I will wait until they formally respond to his letter because they responded. They sent me a letter in response to what they listened to on the last meeting. But I'll wait. I'll let them respond formally before I hand it in. I'll let them write a letter back to
John?
Chuck.
Yeah, so I actually did receive a phone call too from a Fair Board member after our meeting last week, and I just kind of reiterated our discussion, and and he totally understood it. So we'll see. Yeah, so I had East Polk Soil and Water, and Rachel did ask me about the payment, and so and so there's been discussion with Sam on that. So hopefully that does get taken care of. Otherwise, it was just kind of their basic things. I'm always impressed of how many people are actually sealing old wells, which is good. I mean, it seems like every month we've got a couple people that are sealing wells. So, good, actually good to see that. I had a shack member development meeting. We just kind of discussed our upcoming 3Cs meetings. And also we spent some time looking at our work plan for 2025. And because we actually need to have that approved by the shack committee. And also we've done a mentorship program last year to kind of help new members into shack and understand what it is and everything. And looking at making some changes on that. Had a DSC meeting. We actually were at a loss last month, but part of that was because we were closed for like 2 weeks around the 4th of July. They always shut down for about 2 weeks. They actually did a day trip over to the science museum in Bemidji. So I thought that was a good. So they're looking for opportunities, of taking the clients different things, and I know they looked into taking them fishing. So because they can actually the residents can get a lifetime license for free. So trying to get the guardians to fill out the paperwork for those. Had our Polk Norman Monoman Community Health Board spent a fair amount of time with the fine that the MPCA did on American Crystal and East Grand. So virtually joining us for the meeting was a person from MPCA, American Crystal. There were a couple from MDH, and then also the East Grand Forks City Administrator. Just going over the process of how we got to where we are with this, and then what our obligations as a community health board to use the fee or the fine amount that's going to be given to our community health board, which is $140,000. And what, this is the first time this has ever happened. So we're kind of treading new waters. We have no examples to follow. But once we have until July 22nd of 2025 now to complete that project, and then we will have to actually report to the legislature directly on what we do and how we spend the money and engage in the community. And then there was also just usual funds and contracts for approval, and then also had the second quarter communications report for the counties, and last night I had intercounty. We did some changes in our organizational chart, and then also we kind of went over every so often they have to do a community needs assessment, and so we looked at that, and it always has a lot of good information. And a lot of times it's kind of surprising information of, like the housing of how many people, like, in the East Polk part of the county are, in that poverty range, and where, they don't make enough to own a home, at especially now with, home prices and stuff. So it's like I said, it just has a lot of good information. So that's it for me.
Mark?
Just standard phone calls about construction. Issue came up, I'll deal with ask Mr. Sanders for explanation on one of the comments. And then Mr. Strandel's article that he forwarded concerning the jail that was in the court systems, Polk County court systems in the Grand Forks Herald, which I saw the article earlier. Very interesting, those numbers, and that's it. So
Can I just add one more? You
Sure.
you got to go.
Go ahead.
We talked last week about when Tadman was in, Sheriff Tadman, about law enforcement. That has been on my radar for a long time. I'm really concerned about the fact that we don't have enough deputies. And so that is a huge concern, especially when we're talking about water coverage, and that when he made the comment that he hasn't even had any lake coverage, it's unfortunate it falls in the district that I'm in. Most of the lakes are in my district, and I start hearing people complain about the fact that how come we don't see the sheriff? How come we don't see the sheriff department? We don't see the sheriff, but we don't see them on the roads either. And I know the reason, because we're not seeing this. For whatever the reason is, if we have to do something. I liked your thought, but
Tuition reimbursement.
anything.
Yeah.
If we're not in the price range, we have to do something. If we're losing them out to the other departments in the area, whether it be Fargo, Grand Forks, Moorhead, Detroit Lakes, whatever, because we're underpaying, we have to take a serious look at that. It's budget time. Now's the time to make the change. If we're $2, $3, $4 behind, I'm going to look into it myself. I'll find out what the rates are. Somehow we're not paying right, because if people aren't coming here, that we got to do something. That's
No, I think that issue was certainly on the table when we met with the unions a couple of weeks ago. That was the major concern. And they had some statistics that did some comparison. And it did appear, I mean, we have to do a little more research too on our side, but it does appear that we are lower than what the average is. So we need to
the only way.
follow up on that.
Yeah, the only way we're going to get more people, and the only reason I say this is in medical field, when we struggle finding people to replace people, if you're paying them X amount of dollars an hour and you break even and you're the same as the next people over, you're just going to maintain the status quo. If you want to bring people in, you have to be the higher by significant in order to draw. And then everybody else has to match you in the next 3 to 5 years. So if we want to fill our department, we're going to have to surpass it. And to me, it's just as important as all these other departments we have. Right now, we're vulnerable, very vulnerable. And we've had some pretty significant incidents happen in our county in the last several months, and we can't have that. That's all I have to say for now.
We provide backup too for a lot of
Other
our
departments,
cities
I know.
in our counties.
Yes.
And so it is a concern, and obviously it'll be a big part of the budget decisions here within the next couple months.
Thank you.
Mark?
No,
Nothing,
all
okay.
done.
It was kind of a short week. This Thursday, we were going to meet with those unions again, but now that has gotten rescheduled, so that'll go into August. And then I've got planning commission on Friday morning. So that's it.
I would say our drug task force meeting got canceled because
Yep.
lack of business, basically.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
if there's something has to be done, they might do it electronically.
Yeah, because there's been a couple votes that
Yeah.
been done by email, and then they're officially approved at the next meeting.
April, you're up next.
Thanks for waiting, April.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. So I think you all got the annual report, right?
Mhm.
Do you want to start with that, or do you want to start with the action item?
Whatever you want.
Jump into
Looks
the
like
action.
Looks like you got the levy petitions, the action item. So can I scroll and find it?
You should be able to scroll.
There it is. Okay, so before you today, the Sandhill River Watershed District Board of Managers is asking for approval and for the county to submit the 3 levy petitions, and we have a draft for you. The documentation is the same as what we've been doing since 2018. We always send this cover letter to kind of explain to you the history of why we ask for these petitions in exchange for what historically we used to do for the levy. This year they did do things a little bit different. Normally we have the 3 petitions and we have kept them all the same. In looking at the tax capacity, that has increased. Last year it was at 110,000 per petition. This year, because of the tax capacity, the max allowed is 135,866.75. And so as we went through the budget and went through the projected expenses for each petition and what potentially could be before the Sandhill River Watershed District Board, they decided that it would be in the best interest to continue the max for the water quality petition and the water management petition, but reduce the one for studies and agency support, knowing what we have coming forward next year would not be as high. So that's kind of how they balanced that. And that is what we have before the county board today.
Any questions for April?
Once we get into the actual resolution to approve, I got just a question.
Yeah. Go ahead. There's the resolutions. So which one did you have a question on?
I can't remember which one it was. Believe it's scroll to the next one. Paragraph 2, project-based legal assistance. That, first of all, I'm in favor of approval of these dollar amounts, and your presentation is very good. Project-based legal assistance, what do you feel that that's encompassing?
Sure. So sometimes this petition doesn't pertain to any legal ditch project. So those are completely a separate levy under a different Minnesota statute. These would be projects that would come forward, and we might need legal assistance for those specific projects, but they're separated from the the legal ditch 103E
Activities.
process.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Well, let's begin with resolution number 1. Any,
I so move.
there's a second?
Second.
Mark. Any other further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Move on to number 2, dealing with the legal assistance. That's Mark. Any other additional questions? Is there a motion to proceed
So
by Paul and a second
Second.
by Joan? Any further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
so this one, April, is on. This one just covers
Yeah. So
water
this,
quality then.
well, this is studies and agency support. So a lot of times, I mean, in the annual report, you'll read about LIDAR.
Mhm.
This particular petition, the funding that we received through this one,
Mhm.
helped pay for the Sandhill River Watershed District share for LIDAR. So that's
Sure.
an example.
Okay.
You know, we sponsor education, and we'll talk about that in the annual report. That is funded through this particular levy.
Sure.
Other things might be the International Water Institute does some education and some outreach things that we might sponsor. The Red River Basin Commission annually, every year, our board looks at that to find out what our share of contribution might be towards that. And every year, there's always something that comes up. New programs come up, new opportunities, and so we use this levy to make sure that the watershed district is engaged in with our partners.
In participation.
And then financially contribute to things that they're producing that would benefit the Sandhill River Watershed District constituents.
Yeah, I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Warren. Any other additional comments, questions? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Right, thank you. We'll just move on to the annual report. So I think I've been coming here since I became administrator in 2018 to just present the annual report that we prepared. This is a statutory requirement. And I think that it just kind of gives the county commissioners an update on what the watershed district has been up to and where our goals and what our successes are. As we go through it, the one of the major things that the watershed district has been working on, and this is going to be a continuing effort, is the Sandhill River ecosystem restoration. It's a project team. We use the project team process because that really helps all of the partners who need to be involved in a major project of this undertaking sitting at the table. And that's important because we're going to be able to address permitting issues, possible funding partners, and really get down to collaboration at the very early stages to find out what the best possible alternatives are. And sometimes when you have a project team, the alternative is do nothing. But through the process, you learn what your options are, and then you have a way to be able to express that to all of the taxpayers that yes, we've looked at this, we've analyzed that, and this is where we're at. And so we're very at the very early stages of this project team. And for those of you who aren't familiar, this project team is really evaluating the area from just west of Fertile, starting at the Kittleson Creek, and goes all the way to Neilsville. And it's a massive stretch. It's where the Corps of Engineers came in the 50s and straightened the Sandhill River. And it is a legal ditch system, so we do have that element. It is a protected waterway, so there's that element. And the Corps of Engineers has jurisdiction. So we have a lot of partners at the table trying to evaluate possible solutions for this. Also in this area, another motivation for this project team to move forward is, it is a targeted area in our highlighted in our One Watershed, One Plan. So we have some funding available there for water quality. And this was an area in 2022, I believe. I think that was the year where FEMA came in and had disaster declaration. And we had $1.7 million worth of damages there in this area. So that was denied. The Watershed District appealed their decision for funding. And we did hear that just this year that we were granted the 1.7 million. So we do have that funding sitting there, and we want to make sure that we're really good stewards of that funding. And so the project team's going to evaluate what it might look like, if we take that money and put it back to pre-disaster conditions, or use that money to do some mitigation there so that these problems don't keep occurring in the future. So there's a lot of irons on the fire right now with this project team. And right now, and when this report was written, we hadn't gotten this far, but right now, I think we're at this stage with our engineers where in August or September, we're going to be looking at presenting alternatives to some of the problems that were presented to the project team. They did some geotech work out there and some soil sampling, and that took some time. But I think that they're finally ready to present some alternatives. So I think we're in a good place right now. For that, the next thing that we chose to highlight in our annual report is the partnership that we made with the Agassiz Environmental Learning Center. The Watershed District, in our mission statement, does have a piece for education, for watershed education, and that's a gap that with such a small staff, we haven't been able to fill. And this was a really great partnership to be able to bring some watershed education at the Nature Center, and it has, we have 4 schools in our watershed district. And so the Watershed District sponsors the 4th graders to come in and take a part of this programming. Last year was the first year that we did it, and we feel it was a success. We haven't been presented yet from the Nature Center to do that again this year. But this particular program, I did go out and observe, and I thought it was a great opportunity. And I think it also creates a little bit of seed for those young-minded people to maybe think about what their future might be in the watershed or in water resource management one day. So they're learning, and I think it was a good partnership for the Watershed District to form. This particular program too, I just nominated it through the state of Minnesota as Program of the Year. So we'll see if we're awarded that or not. But it was nominated, and we'll wait to hear back from that. I think I kind of mentioned the One Watershed, One Plan. That we think we received confirmation from the state in January that we can move forward, and we're now into the implementation phases of that. For the next biennium, I think we were granted $700,000 to $705,000 for all of us partners to share. We have some really great partners. We negotiated how we would all like to use those dollars. We got our work plan already, and I think all the partners are working to get that so we can get some projects on the ground. So for the Sandhill River Watershed District, what that means, we had a couple of priority areas. One was that Sandhill Ecosystem Restoration Project area. And we had another area. It was just west of Beltrami, but it was in the same area or same channel that we had some significant erosion and some damages done. So we'd like to prevent that from happening again as well. We got some new software. This was huge for internal records. And we learned that we were lacking in this area when we went through the appeal process with FEMA. They wanted to see all of our historic ditch maintenance records. And a lot, we didn't have those recorded digitally. We had them here, there, and everywhere historically. And so this is a software that is, we can go out annually. When we do our ditch inspections, it GPSs the location, it takes a photo, and it allows us to, write feedback or write commentary on what we're seeing. And then the next year when we have it, we can go out and do an inspection, and it will flag us to say, hey, you were here last year. There was the same problem here last year, so it's really giving us a good historical view of all of our ditch projects. And it also was an update to our permit database software, and that's just kind of standard software expires and the new stuff comes out, and so we did upgrade that at the same time and made it all uniform within the same platform. There was a state disaster declaration in 2023, and we were awarded a candidate for that. We did have a lot of damage in 2023. I'm estimating it to be about $1 million. So I've been working with the state representative on that. I listed all of our projects that we have submitted to them. They've come out and looked, and we are done with a lot of these. These last two here, the Sandhill Ditch in Scandia and the Sandhill Ditch in Liberty, we're hoping that those get completed this year. I think the Scandia one, for those of you that are familiar with the area, it's kind of it's out by Scott Aya's property west of Beltrami. That one, I think, will be going out for bid probably this next month. So we're ready to move on that one. This last one, this was another $600,000 that we need to get fixed. The Liberty Township Road is washing into the river, and it's compromising the road, and there's some safety concerns there. We are working on that, but we needed to wait till the geotech work came back so we can get the soil samples to make sure that we have the appropriate fix. We have a new board manager, but you guys are aware of that. LIDAR, I kind of touched on that and highlighted that the petition funds that you approved help pay for this project. So you can look at that, and that's all available now. And then the last page really just talks about the administrative things that we kind of do, some of the maintenance things, how many permits come through, things like that. And then of course has our operating budget in there, and then who you can contact if you have questions. So I don't know if you have any questions on 2023, but I did just highlight a few things. In the past 6 months, a lot has been happening in the watershed district. Now this isn't in the report, but we are going to have some major maintenance on our Project 17. That is the one that's along Polk County 41 from Highway 9 to Climax, almost to Climax. That big highway, it's never been cleaned before since the project has been constructed. And we did meet with all of the landowners. We sent out about 300 invites to just get their feedback at what they would like to see, what the assessment should look like and things like that. So we got a lot of good feedback, and the board, based on their feedback, did decide to move forward with a full cleaning all at once for that system and start at the outlet and move the way up. Our ditch inspections noted that we probably are going to need cleaning, and so we're going to solicit quotes on our Project 13 and our Project 12. One is just west of Beltrami, and one is actually north of our Project 17. So there will be a lot of construction out there this fall. Let's see, I kind of highlighted a lot of that. This fall, we'll also have a major construction project. We applied for a project and practices grant in, I think it was 2021. And this one is actually at the outlet of our Project 17. So right along 41 there. This goal is to try to prevent future erosion. We have 6 rock drops and 2 side inlets that are going to be installed, and its goal is to help prevent additional down cutting. And right now we're working through the permitting. Hopefully that will be done and we can go out for bid this fall because the grant expires in December, I believe. We'll have to ask for an extension if the conditions don't allow for us to get out there and get construction done. And then the final major thing, every time I've come here, we've talked about accessibility for our district office and how the Sandhill River Watershed District Board has been working towards making sure that it's ADA compliant. And we went through the Historical Society to see if we could get grants that way. I think we actually went out for bid 2 to 3 times to try to get competitive bids. And each time the bids were astronomical, we brought them back, we revised the plan, went back. We were finally at a place where we have this was in March now, we revised the plan, and it's about 1,408 square feet of interior space. There's a large parking lot on the north side for parking because where the building is going, we're building over top of our current parking lot. so we went up for bid and the bid was awarded. So this fall we will be ADA compliant, and I'm really excited and happy to see that. The plan allows for 2 handicapped accessible bathrooms and entrance, so public meetings are not an obstacle for anybody. I tried to get grants, and it sounds like we're about 20 years too late to get accessibility grants for this nature. So it's unfortunate we didn't have the capability to act 20 years ago, but they did allow for room in this 1,400 square feet to, if future boards decide to rent out space for like-minded individuals where we can partner and share some resources, maybe share a receptionist, maybe share engineering, things like that, we can have that option as well. So they're trying to be very forward-thinking and be really efficient with the space that they're adding on. So, and then lastly, you guys probably all got this postcard, July 30th. Hope you can put it on your calendars. If there's going to be a quorum, you might want to notice it, but it'd be very important that you all come. I think the board, has to do with the redetermination education and outreach session. And I think our board's being really diligent and really wants to take the feedback of all of the taxpayers from east to west at what the future might look like for that. So, I don't know if you have any questions or if you have any feedback for me.
I didn't get the.
You were emailed. Did they email anything to you?
Nope.
Yes,
Yes?
that's the calendar invite for the meeting in Boston.
Foston and Infertile.
Yes.
Nothing.
Okay, well, you can have mine.
Yep.
Yep.
But the question I had
Yep.
earlier was
Yep.
redetermination is bouncing along.
Yeah, we got your support letter, which was great. And after our board looked at that, they still felt like they still needed more. They wanted to hear from the taxpayers before they instituted anything. And so what we've done is invited John Kolb from Rinky Noonan to come and present on the process, the legal reasons why, what the cons are, what the pros are, and just let the taxpayers hear it directly. This isn't a feat that the county's pushing or that the watershed district is pushing. We just want to present them with the facts and get some education. Brian Murphy's also from H2 Over is going to come and present as well, just to kind of give a background of what it might look like for the people on the east side and what it might look like for the people on the west side. And then we will record those presentations and put them on our website for those that are unable to attend. But that was the best solution that I think our board decided to go with, to be completely transparent and just really get a good understanding of what that might look like for our taxpayers. But you can keep my card.
All right.
We have extras, so
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys with the nice clean copy and then a
They
copy.
only let me reserve for Foston, but I'm gonna be at both.
Yeah, I only knew about the Boston one. I guess I didn't see that there was a fertile one thereafter.
Yeah, it's
so-
at 1 o'clock. One's at
Yep.
11 or something, and one's
Yeah.
at 9 or 9 and 1.
9 and 1.
Oh,
They're
okay.
both going to be the same presentation, but
Mhm.
you might get different questions because the people in Fertile are going to have different questions than the people
I
on the
just
upstream
figured
end.
I'd go to both since I'm off.
Yeah.
I took it off.
You took it off. Well, that's great. So also I'm going to pass out, and I'll make sure that you guys get a copy of it. Our audit report is complete too, so you can sure look at all of the public finances and things like that. There you go,
But
Joan.
you only let me accept the one. I tried to accept both times.
Did we?
That's it.
Everybody get one?
Mhm.
Okay. So as always, I don't know if you guys get calls about the watershed or things like that. Hopefully they get routed to me, but if they don't, I can't fix anything I don't know about. So please pass them on to me.
I get calls, but not yours.
Okay, well I like that. No, but definitely pass them on to me. And I think our board's been really, I think they've been really good about making sure everybody feels heard. They're public meetings, so pass them on to me and we'll get it solved.
Well, getting information out too is so important.
Yeah. I think we've made a lot of progress in the last 5 years about being able to make sure these things get out there. And this is a statutory requirement. They're just looking nicer and getting a little bit better at making sure things are out there. So,
Well, thank you very much.
welcome. Okay, thank you for your time, you guys.
Yep, thanks.
For sure.
Yeah. I do too.
I'll get
We take about 5.
Okay, we'll take about a 5-minute we are.
So we had contracts from 2023 that are being finalized. The first one is box culverts in Hammond Township. There was 2 boxes and then one field approach that we paid Taggart out of ditch funds to install. But the box culverts, the original contract amount was $287,600. The final contract amount was the same. So I need a motion to approve the certificate of performance and certificate of final acceptance for the 2 projects and allow myself to sign the certificate of performance and myself and the county administrator to sign the final voucher.
Okay, I would move.
I will second. Any other specific questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Those opposed, motion carried.
Next, we had a box culvert in Grove Park Township and a box culvert within the city limits of Mentor. The original contract amount was 218,000. Final contract amount is 214,700. So I have the same motion.
So
Sure.
moved.
Thank you, Joan. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mark. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Next is the grading on CASA 46 from Trunk Highway 102 to 2 that Davidson's Construction Incorporated in Fulton, Minnesota. Original contract amount was $3,013,424.30. Final contract amount is $3,064,244.80. Same motion.
need to learn how to spell New Fulton.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, I suppose my computer screwed that up. Must have put a space in.
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Questions, comments? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried.
Next, the County Ditch 99 project, which is just east of Crookston here. We had the box culvert that we did as part of a road project, and then from the box culvert south to the Red Lake River Oxbow, we did a ditch project. It was in the form of 2 separate projects. One was from the end of the box culvert project to the end of the Nest project or Nest property. That received FEMA funds and county ditch funds to fix that stretch up. And then the rest of the ditch was part of the watershed, Red Lake watershed, and it received 3 separate funding sources through the watershed plus some of the ditch work. Part of the overrun is riprap that we added, and then part of it was we had the contractor replace an approach at the bottom of it because the approach had washed out in between, and so we had them fix that up as well as part of this project. So original contract amount was $712,332. Final contract amount is $767,689. So I need the same motion.
Is there a motion to proceed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joan. Any further comments, questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Crossing surface installation agreement happens all over the county, and BNSF will be working on the concrete panels in on CASA 4 just north of Lengby, and the county is responsible to help pay for that work. since it helps our traffic cross their crossing as per statute. And so the cost for BNSF that is relating to the county is $1,000 per foot for or $40,000. It's a 40-foot crossing. So I need a motion to approve the agreement and allow the board chair and administrator to sign the agreement.
Second,
Second.
second by Joan. Hearing no questions, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Those opposed, motion carries.
I think the last thing should be
Ditch 60, right?
Joint Ditch 60. So Joint Ditch 60 starts out in Red Lake County. So we have a joint ditch board, 2 from Red Lake, 3 from Polk. There is currently erosion happening on the back slope from CASA 11 east. It's located, it crosses CASA 11, well, just before the Gently Bridge at the top of the hill along the east side of 13. And so there's erosion happening along the back slope that's eating into the farmer's field north of 11. And then you have all the erosion and sloughing that's happening to the ditch south of CASA 11 before it turns to go to the Red Lake River. And so because we did such a good job of working together between us and Soil and Water and the Red Lake Watershed on County Ditch 99, I asked if we couldn't do something for JD 60, and the first step would be to do a feasibility study on the stretch from CASA 11 south past Ricard's property, where the ditch turns to go west and then to the river. And they were awarded $60,000 to do the feasibility study. So I'm just here for informational purposes only, letting you know that we received money to do that. I'm going to send out an RFP to the consultants around the area, asking them to provide a cost to do an what it would cost to do a feasibility study. Once we have that dollar amount in hand, we will have to hold a joint ditch board meeting to approve awarding that feasibility study to whoever we feel is best qualified to do the work. Any questions on that?
It's a good project.
Yeah. Yep. Hopefully it's a good project that has a good cost benefit ratio so that we can receive more funding to actually fix it and get something done finally on both stretches of that ditch.
Has it gone through the process of the one watershed yet, or?
That was one of the projects that was, I believe, was listed in their one watershed, one project thing. So there's a possibility of getting funding to do whatever, but we thought the first thing would be is to see how feasible it is to actually fix it, what it's going to cost. Doesn't make sense type thing. So any other questions?
We'll pass the agreement back.
If not, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Butch.
County Road 64, I get lots of comment and
Everybody. Yep.
is it
Well,
ever,
the one thing you got to remember is there's a quarter mile of 64 that isn't ours. So from the end of the concrete to almost the mile line or the half mile line is the
Okay.
city of East Grand Forks is. And so some of the people that are calling in are complaining about that stretch of roadway. And I said, well, there's nothing I can do about it. It's not my road. That's their road. Then the rest of it, MnDOT's working with us. They've added some gravel. They've helped water it so that we can blade it. And so we're just keeping up with it as much as we can in order to keep it in as good a shape as we can at this point.
As of the weekend, because the concrete process on 220, on 21, the west side of 21, you couldn't jump across. And when we went to church, we had to turn around and come back. But I think traffic is one I'm hearing, because you can't get across 220 right now, is 64 is kind of quieted down a lot, unless I don't know how they're jumping across.
Yeah.
Because I witnessed a pickup trying to climb that 10 inches of concrete,
No, nice.
and I think he ended up having to drive. He started taking off and going south, and we were late for church, so I turned around and got the heck out of there. But
Yeah. I mean, people are going to find their way around detours. They're going to find their way around construction, and you just have to deal with it every time you have a project. And we're dealing with it with the roundabout, and MnDOT's dealing with it with 220. And as soon as we cut off the bridge at Climax to put the new bridge in or finish the approach there, and they have to do a 25-mile detour, they're going to find their way around that. And so, instead of following the paved detour, they're going to be taking gravel detours. And so we'll have to watch County Road 220. Well, Neilsville's closed, so there's be no sense going there. But there's a lot of things you deal with when you do construction projects. So it's nothing new.
Is the 220 project on schedule, would you say?
Well, if they've done concrete up to 21, then I would say yeah, because they said they were going to hopefully be done by the middle of August. And with the last 2 weeks of weather that we've had, I'm sure they were making hay. So that'd be my guess. I haven't heard otherwise. So
I haven't verified it, but I heard yesterday a segment of 220 up on the north end, or towards the north end, has to be demolished, and apparently there was some problems with the concrete. So
yeah, who knows? But anyway, okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you much. Ryan, you're going to give us some updates.
Guess so. Scrolling into what's in the packet here, this is our mid-year general summary budget to actual comparison. First up is the general fund and all the little departments that happen within there. And for my part, I just kind of review this in a kind of overall glancing, probably as you folks might do as well. And then we could mention any of them that look a little bit high compared to the 50% of the year. But the ones that I've looked at all just make good sense to me. I mean, it's pretty normal. As I kind of look about midway down here, the data processing is basically the result of that we paid for software in January to cover us for the full year. And then that one, Sam actually bought something new that I think he could explain it if he needed. But we know that should happen like that. Looking a little further down there, building debt service, again, that's Department on 113. Pardon me that I have such trouble seeing both places, but that's normal. The principal payment happens in February, so that's normal for that to be over. A couple more lines down, insurance again is way over, but again, we paid the blanket premiums in January for the year. So that explains most of those. I don't think I saw anything extremely low. I mean, they're pretty minor overages, really. Oh, another one as we're coming to it here, unallocated. There's kind of a big variance there too, and that's just the result of the CARES or ARPA money, excuse me, that went out. There's no budget in the general fund for that. We just spend it from the fund balance, as it gets approved. Well, I guess I'll scroll past here into our highway fund next then.
Okay.
All right.
what year are we in that 5-year bonding program? Are we done? Is
Yeah,
this the
done now.
final year
The
of it?
highway bonds are done now. Yeah. Is Rich still here? No, they're done now. We made our final payment on that.
Okay, so now apparently he'll be looking to,
You'll probably want to do it again, get another one coming.
but that's all paid for by CASA funding. It's not,
Yeah, it comes in. Yeah, I don't know the details as well as he might, but it does come in like just in time to make those installments on that.
yeah,
We don't have to levy or otherwise account for debt service on that. It does come as state payments per his budget. And there's a little bit of an overage there, and that's the money that he got in that he sends out to towns and cities comes early in the year, town road allotments. I guess I probably won't mention much about social services. They do their own reporting anyway. It's under budget, pretty good amount. Mhm. And I don't recall anything in either the safety here or the health fund that I thought needed explanation, but I'd be happy to research anything anybody wants to look into. But for my part, I didn't spend much time on that. This large item in score that you'll see, that 448, that's transfer station John Steiner's Crookston operation. That big overage is money basically to himself. He paid it out to it says recycling payroll costs. So he could explain. Do you see our department 396 under Fund 48 called
Right.
Score?
Oh,
And he
yeah.
paid about 300, and I actually have the detail if you want it. 300 some $1,000 to himself out at 64 and 65 in Boston for costs associated with their part of that operation. So it's money moving within the county to those other funds, and it's noted as 23 and 24. And maybe they felt maybe this was a good time to get some money into those funds because they have dwindled a bit. So that's about as much as I can tell you on that one, I guess. But I'll look more if you wanted, or John could explain. And then again, we roll on to the other funds there. 64, of course, is the Boston incinerator and recycling business there, and then the landfill fund. Really nothing wildly over there that I saw that I thought I needed to check on for this morning. And then we go down to the agency fund is the final piece that we do budget for, and that's these ambulances. And there is one that I might as well point out. It's kind of weird. I don't understand why the Boston ambulance is at 102%. I did look back to the settlement. It's what's in the settlement, so I might want to check with Anna Lee, the SAMS person there, and see if something went wrong on that, or if it's just because normally you'd expect it to be closer to half in June at that one. But that's
let us know what you find out on that.
okay. I'm making a note to tell you because at first I thought I was going to find a miscode of such, but I didn't. So that's what's in the settlement. So, and it's actually current, not delinquent. If it was delinquent, that would explain it as well, why it doesn't match the budget, but it's current, and maybe the number that we put in last fall was a little lower than what they ultimately set up as a special. I don't know. But I'll look into it and get you some kind of explanation. That's all I had on the budget report. Again, if you saw something you want to have me explain, please email me or whatever you want to do. Also, I did have, I guess we're running late, but I did not have time to get it for the packet, but I did do that the treasurer's report totals. If you'd want to talk about it at this time, I'll hand it out.
Sure, pass that out.
Okay. There's 5 of those, and then alrighty.
and I got two.
There we go.
And then this, and some of you have seen it many times, I kind of call it the treasurer's report. This is all our funds, in kind of in a lot of detail. And the reason it's done quarterly is sort of to see the trend compared to other years, and then where we are in the given year, what month we're in is kind of important because the tax dollars are so impactful. You can look at it, if you were to look at this, you can see that May is one of our low points, or kind of is the low point generally for levy funded stuff. And so if you look way down near the bottom, our agency fund is quite large at that point. That's where the collected tax dollars are going as they come in the door. And then in June, about mid-June, then they get distributed out to ourselves and to the schools and everybody else. But yeah, you can see the impact then. And generally, the funds go back up in June. So this is our mid-year point. So that's why this is kind of fun to look at, I think, at times. I don't want to spend a lot of time highlighting things, but I would, note first up on the general fund, I do that little breakout of some of the things that we're sitting on there that aren't normally there. Just to let you know, we do have almost 10 million in there, but just over 2 million is ARPA money. So that kind of has its own sort of use. So I think it's worth putting a note to that. That's actually ARPA money, not normal operating in and out type stuff. And the other pieces that I've been noting lately is the 2 capital improvement bonds that we're using for building improvements. As of right now, the older one looks to be completely spent, and the other one has about 811. But I just feel like I should note that Richard Langlos and Chuck are going to have another discussion and maybe reallocate some of that. The grand total is about right. We're just over 800 to go as of June 30 left in the 2 of them, but they've had some discussion like, no, this should be that one or this should be that one. So I'll wait and let it all settle. But this is what the accounting system shows this morning is that the one's about gone and the other has about 100. And how they spend it, or the only part I care about that is that how they spend it reasonably reflects what was approved by the board and in those motions that were made to how we're spending this. But I guess other than that, you can see highways was quite high, but has been spending down now a bit. But it's fine. Others are fine, like safety and health. Sometimes we need to worry about them. That's 16 and 18. They're pretty much good. Social services is good, if you compare to prior Junes. So that they still have significant good balances. I don't see anybody waiting to go on. And a lot of this stuff is pretty minor in between there. As you get down to Fund 38, maybe I'll just reiterate what that is. That was when they did their solid waste expansion program a few years back, at the suggestion of the Office of the State Auditor. We added a fund. We added just one. Because we don't like lots of funds, but we added one as a dual purpose fund, both for the construction itself and then for the ongoing debt service. And the reason I'm even bringing it up is because now they're telling us, the new auditors and stuff, they're saying, well, we can get rid of Fund 38. The debt service can be paid for directly out of 48, 64, and 65. And so that'll be a coming change that if they want to do it, I'll need to work with Patty and John in a transfer station. That's who's been doing the accounting here, and make that go away. As of right now, though, that fund overspent, so it's about $1 million plus in the red to 48. But again, we get that all worked out. So between 48 and 38, they have what it says on here, the $1.9 million. We'll make that go away. I don't know if it's going to need board approval. It might, but either way, I mean, we'll get it figured out so that one can go away, and then the debt service doesn't have to exist anymore. At least that's the way I understand it at the moment. As you know, John's doing more solid waste bonds, and there'll be a discussion like, where does that payment stream come from? But I'm going to assume that right now it looks like we're going to get rid of 38. And the other thing that's I've mentioned a few times is just that the landfill and excuse me, what's the name of it again? Resource recovery. Yeah, I always just say Foston, but resource recovery and landfill don't have very much money at all. And but between all those funds, John's 48 and his 64 and his 65, they do have a decent amount of money. But that's been a touch and go situation for a while. Of course, if this bond sale comes, then we have $4 million in September or something. That'll change the conversation, I understand. But I wanted to point that out, I guess, because that's the only one that kind of is worrisome. The general fund balance, back to the topic, and the general fund balance isn't strong. it's not like it's gonna have a lot of money to provide for big projects or anything like that, or bring your levy down other than the ARPA money. But it's adequate. So some of those other ones that we talk about, health, safety, those are all good. General's adequate, and whatever we would want to describe the solid waste situation, it's needs help, I guess, cash wise. This is just, just a big picture cash wise.
Say, Ron, on the Foston ambulance,
Yes.
the special assessment increased from $50 to $90 this year, so it's roughly 251,000 is what we would expect to bring in instead of the
Great.
130 something.
Great. So he's saying that, yeah, this number that was put in here on the fall of last year wasn't, whether I didn't get it updated or whatever. Yeah, that totally makes sense. That the actual number that they're going to go for 24 is quite a lot higher than the number I was carrying in the, and yeah, if that discussion happened and somehow it missed our budget approval, but appreciate it.
Right.
Perfect. Yeah.
Additional revenue.
Save me that little task too. All right. That's all I had on the cash. Thoughts or questions again, or if you want more specifics, let me know. I had one final, thing. Chuck's not here at the moment, and this is not on the agenda or anything else, but it was just I could hand it out if you want or whatever. In response to Commissioner Holey, I was listening last week. He was curious about the ARPA money, internal, external expenditures. Not a big deal to write it up, and so I did. Should I go ahead?
Yep. No.
Yeah. Okay.
That's-
Currently, we're at about 63% internal, 37% external, and then I also put on here that projected what I'm talking about as of July. On Chuck was showing this report that shows what we expect to give ourselves in the next few weeks when I get the data all compiled to give our health fund, our IS department, and our what's the last one? Social services. They each are tapping in regularly, but I just don't have final numbers from them yet. So probably next board in August, you'll see the final numbers for those internal transfers. So I did this quick report. You got one for Chris if he wants it. I mean, it is public information. I didn't. I mean, I wish Chuck was here to get the okay on that, but certainly. So that's where it stands internally, externally. And I just got dates and funds listed in terms of. There's more detail available if you want to know exactly what we gave ourselves for. But hope that it helps explain it.
No, we'll need to make some decisions here in the next couple of months of where we're going to be going with the levy, and it's important to know what our options are.
Sounds good.
Any other questions, commissioners?
On the ARPA funds, the dollar amount that's left,
Yes.
is it that
2149, 15042. Yeah. Do you want a copy of that report that Chuck had? For it was
Yep.
I know it was in the pack. I believe it was in the packet, but and then this is just the same one that he put up on the screen last board, I guess. But yeah, that's the number. And then, like I said, I'm waiting for like public health. They're meeting today, I think, with the accountant and the department head. There are going to finalize their request for 24. We haven't paid ourselves anything in 24. And then, I can't speak to what is promised or budgeted or whatever's been done. That's Chuck's area in terms of what he thinks might be going on for the remainder of 20.
so that 2.1 could be altered somewhat?
Well, I expect the 2.1 to come down to the 1.3 that you see at the bottom of the report. I expect it to come down into that vicinity, and I can't tell you the exact number, but I expect that'll be down because Rich is going to get that 650 something. I mean, if you approve it, I mean, if he gets that knocks it down, and then the others are just kind of the normal ongoing ARPA claims that those other three funds have been taking. So I would expect that would be the number, perhaps by the end of August, that remain. And then so you have that for your choice to use it internally or externally as you choose, I guess.
Well, it's good to know.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you much. Something I'll be with the Red Stars on next.
Okay, so I emailed everybody last week or 2 weeks ago the settlement information we received from Hennepin County on the tax forfeiture process. What they're doing is allowing all 87 counties, even though not everybody was named in the claims, to join as part of the settlement where the state will handle the reimbursements. So they've also given the option to opt out of the settlements. I don't think that we should be considering that, as it would put us at liable for anything that came at us after. But we have compiled all of the information that they requested. It was from 2016 through current, any sales that we've had on forfeited property. And so we pulled all of that information together and got it to the claims, the claims administrator last week. And so now it's just kind of in that waiting game again. But I just wanted to let you guys know of where we're at and that there is an option to opt out if we so chose to do so. Do you guys have any questions on the settlement and what was from Polk County or anything like that on it?
Numbers are good. I mean, you're confident with the numbers that,
Yeah, and so I was looking at it and how they calculated the surplus, because so in Polk County the private sale, the presumptive surplus, so what would go back to the taxpayer, or I guess not taxpayer, but the property owner at the time of forfeiture, is roughly, for private sales, was 185,500, and that was for 26 different properties. Then they listed a separate one under government conveyance, and that listed inventory, government conveyance, and conditional use deeds, and that was another $392,950. So roughly 578,500 would be what they list as our surplus that is owed back. And so I was looking at how they figured all of that. And in the settlement, if the sale price of the property was at least 60% of the estimated market value when it forfeited, then they would take the sale price and use the difference between those. If it's less than 50%, which a lot of ours were, it was the surplus value was the difference between the estimated market value and then the property tax obligation. So that's where we saw a lot of our surplus numbers coming from. It was looking at it, I'm like, whoa, I thought it was if we sold it for more than they owed that the surplus would be there, but that's not how the settlement shook out. But we've turned in everything that we need. The last thing I'll do is, if you guys choose to stay in the settlement, which no motion or anything, it's just you choose not to opt out, I'll send in the attestation letting them know that we're going to be joining the settlement, and that we've gathered all the information that we have and everything is accurate to the best of our knowledge. So if anybody's got any ideas on if I'm assuming nobody wants to opt out of the settlement.
I think that makes sense, unless anyone else sees any issues with that.
And I believe it was the total for the state is on like 109 million that they've allocated, which it's a fairly large sum of money.
That it is.
If not, I will send in that last piece of paperwork and we will join the settlement. Anybody have
We
any
agree.
questions?
It appears we all agree.
Perfect. thank you very much. That's all I had for today.
I think that
That should
concludes
do
everything
it.
on our